I think it's actually not clear at all that the president wouldn't sign a bill to continue paying federal workers. I think it's actually a universal sentiment. I'm perhaps the most conservative member of the Senate. I vote to cut spending on everything. I think we spend way too much, but I'm not for cutting the salaries of people who have a contract and who are doing their work. Now, I probably would not hire new people, and I would probably let the federal government shrink gradually through attrition because I think we need to be smaller. But if you work for government, you're doing your job, and you have a contract, I think you ought to be paid.
I've offered in a bill to say that Congress does not get paid like everyone else is not being paid during the shutdown. There's been a little bit back and forth. As I understand it, Senator Paul has objected to that bill. Is that correct?
The senator from Kentucky objected to your unanimous consent request.
To my bill to say Congress isn't paid during the shutdown. Is that correct?
To the bill you ask unanimous consent to pass, he objected to the unanimous consent.
I want to bring up my second bill. It's called the Withhold Member Pay During Shutdowns Act. Remember, my first bill that Senator Paul objected to would have said members of Congress don't get paid, just like our staffs don't get paid, just like air traffic controllers don't get paid, just like the military doesn't get paid. We don't get paid until the shutdown is lifted, and we don't get our money in arrears. In other words, we don't recoup our money once the shutdown is lifted. Perhaps Senator Paul will find my second bill to be more palatable to him and his pocketbook. The Withhold Member Pay During Shutdowns Act would say, while we're in a shutdown and everyone else is not being paid, Congress would not be paid. But members of Congress, including Senator Paul, including me, including all members of Congress, would have the right to get the money back to be paid after they're out of the shutdown. In other words, the money would be escrowed, and they would get it once we came out of the shutdown. Now, I tried to pass my bill preventing members of Congress from being paid. And you can pretty it up all you want to, but Rand objected. And I'm not judging him. I'm not judging anybody who's taking their salary. I'm not taking mine, but I'm not judging anybody. But what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And you either think members of Congress ought to be treated like everybody else, or you don't.